Now, Republican Congressman Pat Fallon of Texas. Sir, it's great to see you and to get your perspective on this tonight.
Well, thanks, Jackie. And by the way, congratulations on your new show. That's great news.
Thank you
But
so
you know
much.
what the Democrats, you're welcome. You know what the Democrats have done? The lame duck Democrats have taken and shoved down our throats in the 11th hour, Jackie, a 4,155-page bill. And it has $787 billion of non-emergency discretionary spending. And as you just pointed out, some of the provisions are simply egregious. $12 billion additional dollars for the IRS, when they got $80 billion in agency a few months back when the Inflation Enhancement Act was passed.
The New York Post wrote about this week and said it was one last chance for Chuck and Nancy to try to loot from the American people. And that's really how it feels, honestly, as you're watching this. Now, the bill has passed the Senate. It's expected to pass the House. I believe the vote is tomorrow. Your colleague, Jim Jordan, was on with Larry Kudlow a little bit earlier, and he said it is going to pass. We don't have the votes to be able to block it. If we had waited, we might when the new Congress comes in. But having said that, the agenda here was we need to get this in now. This is our last chance.
Oh, yeah, they're stealing, robbing both pockets before the adults in the room, the Republicans, take over. And it's very unfortunate that they feel it's good policy to spend to add $2.65 trillion, Jackie, to our national debt over the next 10 years. That's $20,000 a family. And by the way, what in the heck is a bee-friendly highway? Yeah. I have no idea what that is.
I mean, after the trillions of dollars that we've seen in spending since President Biden came into office, it's just, it just kind of makes your jaw drop when you think about the kind of money that we're spending here in an environment where we've got inflation at 7.7%, a Fed that's raising interest rates and telling us people are going to have to lose their jobs in this country next year. You just wonder how on earth they could possibly, sell this or make sense of it.
Yeah, no, my mind's boggling because the American people spoke very clearly. The Republican congressional candidates received 3.5 million more votes. We won the popular vote. The American people want to go in a new direction, and the Democrats decided to spend an additional $1.7 trillion again in the 11th hour. And you know what wasn't funded? How about some border security? We have a problem that is 1,000% worse than it was under President Trump, and they just don't have any solutions. But they did give hundreds of millions of dollars to the NGOs that have helped facilitate this catastrophe in the first place. Yeah,
and what was allocated for the border isn't going to be used to close the border. It's going to be used to process people in a more, humane way, if you will. And that's not what the American people have necessarily been looking for. They want the border shut down at a critical time like this. But you also bring up, as we talk about the border, the other big issue in this bill was the $45 billion in aid to Ukraine. We've had people come on this show and say they need that money. They need to get it right now. This bill has to go through. And then we've had people come on and say, you know what? Why can't we give that money to them in tranches? We don't necessarily know where it's going and how it's been spent. And we've spent a lot of money already to fund this war. We're spending more than the allies are. And so you just wonder exactly what the logic is here right now to ram this through and not do it in a more methodical way.
No, Jack, you make a great point. When I was doing my town halls this summer, I made a prediction that Nancy Pelosi will spend another $30 to $50 billion at the last minute after the Republicans take over and throw it to Ukraine. That's exactly what she did. I believe it's an extreme position to do nothing. We can't have Russia win, but it's also an extreme position to give the Ukrainians a blank check. We need to do it in steps, as you just said. We've had four major funding bills or four major funding opportunities for the Ukrainians. And I voted no on three and yes on one. They need about $1.5 billion a month to stay in the fight. They have that money right now. And quite frankly, they didn't need an additional piece of legislation at this juncture.
Yeah, that's a great point, because a lot of the Americans that I talk to, Congressman Fallon, say that they're suffering and they're feeling the pinch of what's happening in our own economy right now. And so when they hear about the kind of spending that we're talking about in the $15 billion that we just don't need to do in this country right now, and they hear that we continue to allocate funds toward Ukraine, they wonder why we're not prioritizing our nation necessarily first. I understand the larger argument of supporting Ukraine, but you make a great point there that they have what they need right now.
Yeah, no, the Ukraine, what a lot of people don't know is Ukraine has They're the fourth wealthiest nation in natural resources in the entire world. So it is critical, and it is in our interest as a nation to help them out. But we need to put America first. The fact that there's very little border security funding, and not for the right things in this bill, and yet it includes tens of millions of dollars to secure borders in the Middle East, in Tunisia and countries like Egypt and Jordan. That's a slap in the face to the American people. And that's why I'm going to not only vote no, I'm voting hell no on this bill tomorrow.
Okay. Congressman Fallon, thank you so much. Good to see you tonight. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Jackie. Merry Christmas.
Thank you.